This mini lesson is about distribution and combining like terms. When we label these terms, we have to know which parts are we talking about. So when you hear variable, this is the unknown value that is represented by a letter. So the variable in the problem is just the letter, which could be x, y, w, etc., that represents an unknown value. When we talk about the coefficient, this is the number that is being multiplied by the variable. It's the number that comes directly in front of the letter. So in 2x, the coefficient is 2. In 3y, the coefficient is 3. And in 5w, the coefficient is 5. Now, how we read these mathematically, instead of 2x, it's actually 2 times x. 3y is 3 times y. 5w is 5 times w. Last but not least, we have the constant. As you can see, the constant is the number by itself. It has no association with the variable. It's usually separated by an addition sign or a subtraction sign. Let's move on. Now, could be an EOG type question. You'll see an expression like this and it'll say name the parts. Well, how many coefficients are there? Remember, coefficients are the number that comes directly in front of the variable. So we got a 7, a 3, and that is all I see. So the coefficients would be 2. How many variables do I see? How many letters are there? X, Y, and M. All these letters represent an unknown value, an unknown number that we have yet to find. So how many variables? 1, 2, 3. There are 3 variables. And last but not least, how many constants? How many numbers that are by itself that do not have a variable directly following it? And all I see is just 1, the number 12. Let's move on. Now, when we combine like terms, we have to find numbers that share the same variable. So I can only combine terms that have the same letter. So when I group these, I would put 2x, x, and a 3x. A 6w with a w and an 8w. 3y and y, and any number that has no variable next to it also can be combined. When I group like terms, this is how I do it. Like terms are numbers that share the same variable. Okay, so when we combine these, we got to look at how many variables are in each expression. Right here I see x, x, and x. That means there's only one different variable, which means that my answer in the end will just have one group of numbers. There will be one term in the very end because I can combine all of these terms because an x can combine with an x and an x. So when you combine these, we have 2x, a positive 3x, and a positive x. When there's just an x or any variable by itself, that just has the value of 1. You will never see 1x. It's just written as x. So when you combine these terms, we have 2x plus 3x, which is 5x, plus x equals 6x. Let's look at the y's. Down here we have 4y, a positive y, which is just 1y, and a positive 5y. 4y plus y is 5y, drop down the rest, plus 5y. 5y plus 5y equals 10y. Easy enough? Let's move on. Combining like terms. Now, how many different terms do I see in this expression? I see an x and a y, an x and a y. That means there's 2 different terms. That means in my final answer, I will have 2 different groups of numbers or 2 different terms in my final answer. Now, the easiest way to organize my work is to group these numbers in different shapes. So I'm going to put a box around my x's and a circle around my y's. This will help me organize my work in the end. I see a 3x. I know this is a positive 3x because there's no sign in front of it. We just know that that's going to be a positive number. Another x I see is a plus 2x or a positive 2x. Alright, now let's move on to my y's. I see a positive 4y and a positive y, which remember we have the value, or this has the value of 1. Okay, let's look at our x's first. I have a positive 3x plus 2x. 3x plus 2x will give me 5x because 3 plus 2 is 5, so 3x plus 2x is 5x. If you want to write it out like this, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We know that in the end we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's, or just 5x. Moving on to the y's. We have 4y, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just 1y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 y's, or you can just say 4 plus 1 is 5, 4y plus 1y is 5y. I end up with 5x plus 5y. I cannot combine an x and a y because they are unlike terms. They are not the same. You cannot combine an x and a y. So 5x plus 5y is a completely acceptable answer. Another way to write this, just rearrange it. Instead of 5x plus 5y, another way you can read this is 5y plus 5x. Just like 3 plus 2 is 5, 2 plus 3 is also 5. It does not matter the order in which you write it. Okay, now combining like terms when we have subtraction signs. It's the exact same process, but instead of adding everything, we're going to have to do a little bit of subtraction. I'm going to do the same thing with my boxes and circles. Starting with my w's. I have a 4w and a minus 3w. No more w's, moving on to the y's. I have a plus 7y and a minus 5y. Again, you can draw all your w's and subtract it out. I'm just going to do the math. 4 minus 3 is 1, so 4w minus 3w is 1w. Now remember, you'll never see 1w, so instead of writing 1w, we're just going to write w. Moving on to the y's. We have 7y minus 5y. Well, 7 minus 5 is 2, so 7y minus 5y is 2y. Now another way to rewrite this, just rearrange it. 2y plus w. Both acceptable answers. Okay, combining like terms again. How many total terms are in this expression? I see a y, an x, and a number without a variable. That means I'm going to have 3 different terms or 3 different groups of numbers in the end. 7y, positive y, no more y's. I see a positive 3x, minus 2x, and a positive 8. 3 different terms, let's go ahead and combine them. 7y plus y, remember there's a 1 there, 7y plus 1y is 8y. Look at my x's, I have 3x minus 2x, 3 minus 2 is 1, so 3x minus 2x is just going to be x, and then positive 8 cannot combine with anything in this problem, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop it down. 3 different terms, 3 different terms is my final answer. We're good. That's an acceptable answer. Moving on here. I see a 12 and a minus 5. Since those both do not have a variable, we can combine those. Look at my t's. I see a positive 7t and a positive 2t. And also a minus t. How many different terms in this problem? Just 2. There's numbers with the variable t, and then there's numbers that don't have a variable at all. That means in my final answer, I'm going to have 2 different variables. Okay, let's start with my numbers without a variable. I have positive 12, negative 5, or 12 minus 5, which is 7. Now look at my numbers that have the variable of t. 7t plus 2t is 9t, minus 1t is 8t. And you don't know by now, another way to rewrite this would be 8t plus 7. Both correct answers. Okay, it's your turn to practice. Go ahead and pause the video, and we will be back when you return. All right, let's go ahead and review your work. Okay, I've already organized my work by variables. I put a blue box around my x's, a red circle around my y's, and a green little loop around the numbers without a variable. How many total terms are here? 1, 2, 3. So my final answer, I'm going to have 3 different terms. What's it look like? Well, when you have a 3x and a positive 6x, 3 plus 6 is 9, so 3x plus 6x is 9x. When you combine your y's, you have positive 7 and 1 negative y. A way to think when we're dealing with positives and negatives is that they cancel out. We know that positive and negatives are opposites, and they're going to cancel. So if you have 7 positives and 1 negative cancels out, we're left with just 6. So we're going to have 6 y's, and then the 9 doesn't combine with anything else. We're just going to drop that down in our answer. Our final answer is going to be 9x plus 6y plus 9. Let's look at the next answer. How many total terms? I see a green loop, a red circle, and a blue box, meaning I have 3 different terms. My final answer is going to have 3 different groups of numbers. Let's look at the final answer. Starting with the blue boxes. Again, we have positive 10x and negative 2x. 10 minus 2 is 8, or you can say 2 are going to cancel out, which leaves me with 8. 8x. We have positive 6y and negative 5y, or 6y minus 5y. It just leaves us with 1y, or just y. And negative 8 plus 15, you know that 15 minus 8 is 7. Your final answer is 8x plus y plus 7. Or you can rearrange this and say y plus 8x plus 7, or 7 plus 8x plus y. Doesn't matter the order as long as you have these numbers.